Welcome back to Midnight Oil, the podcast where we unwrap the stories behind history's most fascinating mysteries. I'm Keeg.
And I'm Tab. Tonight, we're diving into the legends of the holiday season, from the jolly guy in red to a terrifying horned monster. It's going to get festive and maybe a little spooky.
Ever wonder how St. Nicholas became Santa Claus, or why some cultures have creepy holiday figures like Krampus instead of jolly old St. Nick?
Stick with us as we explore the iconic characters that make holidays magical and sometimes downright weird.
Ho, ho, ho! We're doing all of it. We're giving you the full scoop.
Very that. We're starting off with the original Santa.
OG, the original guy. So, we're going to talk about the man who started it all. His name was Saint Nicholas. The real life inspiration behind Santa Claus being Saint Nick makes us all just kind of forget about the red suit and the flying reindeer for a second because we don't really think about Saint Nick as much as Santa Claus anymore. You know what I mean? Like when I think Christmas, Saint Nick is not on the list of things that I associate with Christmas immediately. And I feel like that's a more common occurrence than it once used to be. But
Yeah.
this story, holy cow, it goes back to the fourth century in what is now modern day Turkey. So a long time ago. Saint Nick was a bishop known for his kindness and generosity, which we kind of went over in our midweek episode. And one of the most famous stories about him, he gave dowries to poor families to save their daughters from being sold into servitude. So, W. St. Nick. And how did he do it? Legend says, all right, take it with a grain of salt, but it says he tossed bags of gold through their windows at night, sometimes even down the chimney. So, I don't know how he was blessed with this amount of gold, but he was just tossing it down chimneys, all right? He was
Yo, he was a
throwing,
hooper.
bro, I'm saying he was throwing buckets down these chimneys, and when you woke up, you had some nice, delicious gold sitting there waiting for you. And eventually, when Dutch settlers brought the story of Sinterklaas to America, it was evolved into the jolly red suited Santa we know today. It's been Americanized. Now, after his death, stories of Saint Nick spread all across Europe, and he became the patron saint of children, sailors, and merchants.
Oh.
Mostly known for women, but all of them as well. They're under that umbrella. And over time, these tales evolved and took on new forms. So in the Netherlands, for example, like I said, he became Sinterklaas, which was a gift giving figure who arrived by boat and rode a white horse. And all of
Hmm.
the renditions in each of the different countries, he was kind of like some of them he's named the same thing, but they all have relatively the same stories, which I think is really interesting because they're all pretty similar. Like, kind of spooky similar.
All based on the same guy.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, these stories were obviously spread so far, and in the fourth century, things were not communicated as efficiently as they are now. You couldn't just email your homie and be like, "What'd Saint Nick get you?" All right, you had to go across ye old ocean to get to the United States in a boat because planes weren't a thing. Unless you had Santa's magic sleigh, you weren't talking to those people. All right, there was no internet, believe it or not, back then. So, Tab, what's your take on how Saint Nick kind of transformed into the global icon that we know now as Santa Claus, at least in the United States?
Like, what's my take?
Yeah, like what do you think A, caused us to Americanize it, and B, why do you think all of these stories are so kind of closely related?
Okay. So I guess we can start off with A, the way he kind of came about as the guy that we all know and love today. A huge turning point was actually Clement Clark Moore's poem, was The Night Before Christmas. That was written
Mm.
in 1823.
Whoa.
Yeah. That poem gave us a lot of Santa's like modern image. It had his sleigh, his reindeer, and even the idea that he comes down the chimney.
You're telling me they dropped a bunch of Santa lore in the 1800s?
Yes. Yes.
In song form?
Yes. In poem form.
Oh man. Modern day Shakespeare.
Yeah. So he went from being like a super mysterious gift giver that kind of just showed up in the middle of the night and was like, "Hey, guys,
Oh
here's your
god.
gifts," to a really cheerful, like, "Ho, ho, ho, what would you like for Christmas, little girl?" I mean, even that sounded a little creepy as well, but
Oh, poor Saint Nick.
but he was jolly now, so he wasn't mysterious, creeping around at night, hooping in your chimney like fucking Kobe. But he was now approachable and fun.
To be fair, he did know when you were awake and if you've been bad or good.
Which, like, Santa, he must have been involved in witchcraft. But, anyways, moving on.
What? Well, I want to do a little segue because I don't think. Well, it's not a segue. It's a little tangent. Sorry. Uh-oh. I don't think this is part of our thing that we have done research on. But the songs are a little strange. Like Santa baby. Like,
Okay, yeah.
oh, come on, hold on.
Yeah.
You gotta pop off Santa's sack real quick because that's a little much for me.
No.
All right, I don't need any seducing Santa songs. And then you got Jingle Bells, which is a much nicer,
A
you know,
Thanksgiving song.
much more. Yeah, it's much more pleasant. It's upbeat. You're getting into the holidays. But then you have the what is it, 12 Days of Christmas? That song is so damn long for no reason. They said, you know what? We need an 8-minute song for Christmas. We really need one. All right. So how many numbers can we go through that makes sense in a song? They said, you know what? We'll stop at 12. All right.
Is that not based on like Hanukkah or
Yeah, it
Kwanzaa, one
probably
of
yeah,
those?
yeah. It probably is based off something that I'm just illiterate and don't know. But 12? We gotta go 12? We gotta do it 12 times? I could have done 6. Maybe it could have been a
Yeah.
two-part song. Or drop an album, maybe. I don't know. Come on, Santa. You can do anything. Drop the album.
I'm sure he has.
Anyway. So it's a fun tradition, right? And it was celebrated in a lot of places. St. Nicholas Day, by the way, does not fall on December 20 anything. It falls on December 6th. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, it falls on December 6th, and it's a feast day that honors the generosity of St. Nicholas and brings a little bit of holiday magic to the kids. So,
Hmm.
really short on the tradition. On the night of December 5th, children would leave their shoes out by the door or window, hoping that St. Nicholas would stop by, and in the morning, they wake up to find small little gifts and candies and even little surprises tucked away. And it was like a little early mini Christmas for kids who had, lots of ADHD back then, who couldn't wait, just like me. And eventually, the tradition kind of developed into if you've been naughty, you might find a certain mineral or a stick in it instead, being coal. And it's the ultimate old school accountability system of you better behave or you risk getting nothing but kindling for your troubles. And the tradition is still alive, very alive, in places like the Netherlands, Germany, and Austria. and it's a heartwarming reminder of the original Saint Nick spirit of giving. So that leads me, because we've had many, many different interesting conversations. Have you ever left your shoes out specifically for Saint Nick, or did you like always just stick to like stockings?
We did, I mean, cookies, obviously.
Hmm.
But yeah, stockings in the terms of like shoes. Did you know actually they left hay and carrots in their shoes for Santa's horses?
Hey, and so I knew carrots, but they would leave them in their shoes.
Yeah.
Whoa. No, I never did that. Hey makes some sense. I could see that.
Yeah.
Imagine like you wear these shoes because back then you probably didn't have a bunch of different shoes, right? Like we have a bunch of shoes now. Like some people have like 10, 20, hundreds of shoes. But back then you're putting your possibly only pair of shoes out and putting carrots in them. And
Yeah.
they're gonna be cold as hell and maybe wet. Like
Mm.
I don't know. I'm thinking about the logistics of putting carrots out in shoes in the cold weather. I don't know if I like that.
At least maybe it made your shoes fresh. They smelled
You know,
fresh.
they'd at least smell like carrots.
Yeah. But the last thing I'll hit on about Santa's evolution, besides the poem, in the 1930s, Coca Cola took Santa's look to the next level. Their ad campaigns created by artist Adon Sunblom.
Mm.
It showed Santa with a red suit, white trim, and that iconic twinkle in his eye. So he was risen people up, Santa
Maybe that's
was.
maybe that's where the like kind of question. I won't call them questionable songs. We're all adults here, but there are some seductive songs about Santa Claus. At least that's how I have interpreted some of them.
Oh, yeah.
Santa baby, you're going down the chimney tonight.
Yeah. But before Coke's ads, Santa's outfit wasn't always red. It varied in color, including green and brown. And those ads were everywhere. Magazines, billboards, you name it. They didn't just sell soda, they solidified Santa as the figure we see today. And funny enough, actually, a fun fact about that, Hadon Sundblom based his Santa illustrations on a real person. Can you guess who it was?
Based Santa was based on a real person?
Yeah. The illustrations
Uh
were.
Play-Doh.
No. His neighbor.
His neighbor.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Who?
I don't know. It doesn't say a name. It's just he based it on his neighbor.
I thought we were about to get groundbreaking information, and it's just his neighbor
Yeah.
who is not even named in any documentation.
Oh, just some guy.
We know he was named after him, but we don't know who it was.
Yeah. He just looked a lot like Santa. But
That's
yeah,
funny.
that's how Santa became the global icon we recognize now.
Yeah, so speaking of global, we're gonna head north. All right, very north. And by the way, this is a fun fact. This is like a physics thing that I found out. Number one, the North Pole is not the most northern place. It is a spot in Canada where the magnetic pole is, which is how compasses work. And eventually, once you get to the spot in Canada, the compass will flip around, and that is where the true north is in Canada.
Oh.
Yeah, so the North Pole is actually more like the Northeast Pole.
That's crazy
But
work.
yeah. Unless I was reading bad information, but yeah, the magnetic poles are not. Antarctica is not the home of the South Pole, and what is it? Greenland or Iceland is not the. I don't know where the North Pole is at, if I'm gonna be 100% honest. But all I know is that true North is in Canada. Suck it. All right. So we're going way north to Santa's workshop. The little elves, click, 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 clack, 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 build, build, build. They're doing all the toy stuff, all right, at the North Pole in Canada. Not really. It's actually the North Pole. And it's the home of the jolly man himself and his reindeer and those very hard-working elves that don't get paid overtime, probably. But here's the whole thing. This whole North Pole idea did not come from St. Nicholas. It was actually, guess what? Popularized in the 19th and 20th century through literature and poems, like Was the Night Before Christmas. Who would have guessed? Who would have thunk it?
Whoa.
Who would have thunk it? So by the time we hit the 1800s, Santa had a whole ass operation going on in this workshop. Had this sleigh, team of reindeer, all these elves ready to fly through the sky to deliver Christmas presents. And then names like Dasher, Dancer, and Rudolph became household legends thanks to stories, songs, and like you were talking about, Coca-Cola ads. So you could talk about a brand blow up for him because he was kind of popping off in the 18 and 1900s and even a little bit in the early 2000s. But he wasn't the only one spreading holiday cheer. Around the world, you can find evidence of all kinds of gift-giving figures that were inspired by the same spirit of generosity. So we got three. We got England, France, and Russia, and I'll do them in that order. Just little tiny excerpts. England had Father Christmas. Has. I don't think he passed away or anything. I think they still believe in him. But he's been around since the Middle Ages, all right? He's more about merrymaking and good cheer, but over time he's blended with the Santa we know today thanks to the popularization and Americanization of Santa Claus. You have Pierre Noel, something like that, in France, who left treats in children's shoes. Treats in their shoes.
Ew.
On Christmas Eve. And he's often accompanied by Pierre Fouettard. I don't know. A less jolly figure who deals with the naughty kids. So it was like good cop, bad cop. And you did not want to see the other guy, all right? You don't want anything to do with him. And then there's Russia's dead Moroz, Grandfather Frost, who travels with his granddaughter, and I'm gonna butcher it, Snegurochka. I don't know. To deliver gifts on New Year's Eve, basically. Instead of reindeer, he rides a magical not a Tonka, a troika, which is basically a sleigh pulled by 3 horses. All right. Anyways, now that I am done having a fumble fest, no matter where you were in the world, the spirit of giving took a unique and fascinating form, whether it was Santa's workshop in the North Pole that's not actually in the North, or Pierre Noel's sweet-filled shoes, or Dead Moroz's frosty sleigh ride. The magic of these traditions connected all of us once upon a time.
Oh.
So, what do you think your favorite version of Santa is so far? One that we maybe have talked about, or one that we haven't talked about that you know of?
My favorite version of Santa so far. I like the OG, like Saint Nick.
I like OG.
He's turning it up.
He seems really. I don't want to say he sounds like the most believable, but I would be like, if I saw a guy in the 1800s tossing gold bars into chimneys, I'd be like, yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
That's cool. Because back then it's not like you're throwing bombs in people's chimneys. I don't even know if they had bombs then. They probably did. 1800s? No, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe dynamite? I don't know. I'm out of touch. I'm washed up. I don't know. But Saint Nick, he was tossing gold bars into people's chimneys, allegedly.
Yeah.
And, if anyone would like to throw a gold bar down my chimney, I
can't
I wouldn't be
argue.
upset. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna argue with that. Throw him
Like,
down.
thanks, Santa. What a G.
For real.
But a quick little fun fact about Santa's sleigh and reindeer. Did you know that actually had connections to Norse mythology?
No way, everything does. Hit me. I gotta know.
Yeah. So Odin, the allfather of the Norse gods, had a flying eight-legged horse named Sleipnir. Kids would leave treats for Sleipnir during the winter solstice, hoping Odin would leave gifts in return. The connection between ancient mythology and modern Christmas is a little more common than you'd think.
So there's a lot more like connections to ancient. Well, I don't know. Well, I guess yeah, it would be ancient at this point, but that's cool. I didn't know that at all. I didn't know it had any tie whatsoever.
Yeah,
Well, shout
I
out
thought that
Saint
was cool.
Nick.
Straight up, Odin was the original Santa.
That's crazy. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's really cool. So we just need to do a Norse mythology month. We
Agreed.
gotta do it. Toss Santa back in. In the
Yeah.
middle of like July. But that kind of leads us to taking a dark detour into the holiday folklore. And Tab, you're gonna like
Ooh,
this
I am.
because we're gonna meet big old bad Krampus. You know anything about Krampus?
I do a little bit. I know that they have a Krampus parade. I've seen videos of it. It's actually really cool. Like everybody in the parade dresses as Krampus, and it looks super awesome. You could literally just look it up. There's probably videos everywhere. If you type in Krampus parade, you'll see plenty of videos about it. It's really cool.
We need a Krampus lookalike competition.
Hey yo.
But okay, so he was a, or she, or they, were a horned devil-like figure from Alpine traditions. And if you thought that coal in your stocking was bad, oh boy, do we got something in store for you with this guy. All right, Krampus is like anti-Santa. Okay, he's a creature covered in fur with long horns, sharp fangs, and sometimes he just had chains or random ass bundles of stick for basically disciplining naughty kids. He didn't fuck around. He didn't care if he was gonna catch an assault charge. He didn't give a fuck about any of that. Sorry for all the cursing. While St. Nicholas was handing out gifts and treats to good children, Krampus would show up and handle the ones on the naughty list. And this was the ultimate good cop, bad cop for the holiday duo. So, in many Alpine countries like Austria and Germany, Krampus and Saint Nick worked together. On December 5th, Krampusnacht, or Krampus Night, people dressed up as the terrifying figure, kind of like what you were saying, and they paraded through the streets to scare away bad behavior. So it was a scare tactic. Kind of like
Oh.
how OG Halloween was kind of a scare tactic. But people later on embraced that. Then, on December 6th, St. Nicholas comes along to reward the good kids. It's like a holiday tag team, I guess.
Yeah.
And with one spreading cheer and the other spreading fear, it was kind of a dynamic duo in a way. So, Krampus might sound a little terrifying, but he's become a very beloved part of Alpine holiday tradition. He's really a reminder that while the holidays are about generosity, they're also about accountability. So, if you're not good, you might hear Krampus clomping down the street, dragging his chains along, and I promise you, you don't want to get kidnapped by this guy, all right? He's gonna beat the bad out of you. All right,
Yeah.
he's gonna take his chains and say, "You better be good the rest of the year. And you better be good next year and all the years after, because man, oh man, I don't want to have to come back and like shackle you up and beat the bad out of you." All right, Krampus didn't care. He didn't care at all. He didn't abide by the law. He didn't care. He doesn't care.
No.
So, if you saw Krampus coming, are you running the other way? Like,
Yes.
I would potentially just pass out right then and there. I'd be like, what am I gonna do? If he's there for me, he's gonna get me. He'll
yeah.
like Indiana Jones whip me and tackle me or something with his chains. Like,
Yeah.
if Krampus is after you, it's already too late. You already made a mistake.
Have you seen those old pictures of Krampus? Like, if you
Um.
just look up Krampus and you look at the old artwork, he is basically just kidnapping children,
Oh
carrying
my god,
around,
he's
like,
terrifying. He's a kid in his barrel. Like,
yeah,
oh my god. Could you imagine you were just bad one year and then you get kidnapped by this thing?
fucking devil-looking thing.
Oh my god, that's terrible. And his tongue is disgusting. Oh man, nah. I'd be running away. Actually, I'm not running away. I'd just be like, you know what?
I deserve it.
I probably deserve it if you're here.
Must have been real bad.
Oh man. Yeah, he's terrifying. I haven't seen him yet, so
True.
I'll call that a good sign.
So I have a little fun fact actually about the Krampus costumes that they have for the
Mm,
parades.
they're actually real.
No.
They actually kidnap children.
I'd hope not. But some of the Krampus costumes are actually passed down through generations. Families take pride in their elaborate handcrafted Krampus outfits. So it's like a spooky little heirloom for them.
So they were passing down Krampus skins?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
facts.
Wow. Well, I got a little fun fact.
Ooh.
So Krampus cards were a thing. So you know how you had Christmas cards? Well, if you get a Krampus card, that's probably not a good sign. That's probably someone in your family thinks you've been very, very bad and has
Oh,
summoned Krampus to you and has given him your address. And basically, they were basically Victorian era Christmas cards. So
all right.
instead of Santa Claus, the jolly old fellow who gives you gifts, you got the horned demon just coming down the street, busting. Like, you hear the mailbox creak open, you're like, oh, what's that? Is that Santa Claus? Oh boy. And then you just see this demon guy opening and scratching your mailbox and tossing like chains in. He's like, you better chain your hands up for me before I do it for you. And then he like walks to the next poor child. Like, that's terrifying. It's terrifying.
I would never be bad. That would scare me more than coal as a
I-
kid.
bro, I would never do anything again. I'd just be like, oh, Krampus, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I won't ever do it again.
All my chores done. That old lady that needs to cross the street helped. Like, would
Yeah.
not be messing around.
If everyone was scared of Krampus, we would have world peace instantaneously. All right. I'm just
Yeah.
saying. We need Krampus. We need Krampus to put ourselves in check, and I think that's very funny.
But yeah, let's dive into some other niche figures you've probably never heard about. Because you've probably have heard about Saint Nick, Santa Claus, maybe even Sinterklaas, and most likely Krampus. But you've probably never heard of the Yule Lads. Like, what a name, right?
Oh man. I just picture them like just a bunch of small guys. It sounds like another term for Christmas carolers.
They're trolls.
No, no, no.
So
Of
this is
course.
actually really interesting to me because a bunch of like gnomes show up for one of the holidays in Sims 4 and you have to appease them. And so the Yule lads kind of give that vibe to me and I thought it was really funny. So let me get into it. Let me get into it. So this is actually Icelandic folklore. So the Yule lads, these guys aren't like the typical gift givers that we've been talking about. They're mischievous trolls who show up during the 13 nights leading up to Christmas. So they're not at all sneaking around and leaving presents, but each of the Yule lads has their own quirky and sometimes really weird personality. So one of them is a spoon licker. He steals spoons to lick the leftovers.
Huh?
Yeah. And then there's a door slammer who goes around slamming doors in the middle of the night to scare people. And then there's Sausage Swiper, who hides in the rafters and steals sausages. And then there's Window Peeper,
Oh no.
and he's the creepiest lad of the bunch, if you can guess what he does. Peeps in windows. So it's like Iceland thought of Christmas and was like, this is just a little bit boring for us. We need a little bit of chaos to stir it up. But so it still follows relatively the same premise. If the kids have been good, sometimes they'll leave a little gift in their shoes. But if they've been bad, they'll leave a rotten potato.
No. I guess you could say they do a little trolling.
Yo. Yo.
Bad dad joke.
Apparently they have a mom too.
No, there's no
Yeah.
discipline in that household.
The mom is giving Krampus. Oh my god. Wait, she is giving Krampus. Hold on. So, her name is Gryla. Apparently, she's a giantess who kidnaps the naughty children and then boils them in her cauldron.
She looks like a witch, a troll witch.
This is crazy.
What the heck?
Oh, good lord.
So that was Iceland.
Yeah.
Iceland is usually really, really funny. So, like, as far as like some of the things they make or have stories of, the Yule Lads is up there for me.
No, yeah.
That's crazy. And then we have the three that I talked about, which I'll go into a little bit more detail. So Belsnickel, the fur-clad figure from German folklore, who's basically a one-man holiday justice system. All right, he's basically Batman. Forget the sleighs and the reindeer. This guy just showed up wearing raggedy clothes, sometimes animal fur. It carries a bag of treats, along with a switch for naughty kids. Belsnickel is like a hybrid of Saint Nick and Krampus, I guess. So if you've been good, he'll reward you with candy, nuts, or small gifts. But if you've been naughty, you're getting the Switch. And we're not talking Nintendo Switch. We're talking one of those sticks that go 2 billion miles an hour on your ass if you've been bad. So he wasn't afraid to use it to remind kids to behave. And he was honestly just a holiday enforcer. No nonsense.
Not the holiday cop.
Yeah, holiday cop, actually. So this didn't just stay in Germany, though. Apparently it became so popular, it came to America with the Pennsylvania Dutch communities, where Belsnickel kept his role as the scruffy, slightly intimidating holiday figure. Now, some families kept the tradition alive by having a relative dress up as Belsnickel and visit houses to test the kids' behavior before handing the treats out.
Yo.
So he was kind of proof that holiday cheer doesn't always come with these twinkling lights and jingle bells, because sometimes it came with a fur and a warning. So
Oh, not a warning.
yeah, he's giving you. It's like, I'm gonna count to 3. And if you're not starting to be good, you're about to catch these hands.
I'm about to give you that switch, brother. Yo.
Oh man. But that brings us to Italy.
Yeah. To La Befana, potentially. She was a Christmas witch. So that's kind of cool. She was on January 5th, actually. She was a witch who delivered gifts to children, also known as Epiphany Eve. So she's kind of like Italy's version of Santa Claus, but with a broomstick instead of a sleigh. And this was really interesting. The legend has it that the 3 wise men who were on their way to see baby Jesus, they actually stopped at La Befana's house and invited her to come with and see baby Jesus. But she said no because she was too busy cleaning the house. So
Whoa. Imagine saying no to the 3 wise men. Like like
that was goofy.
those guys come bearing gifts Yeah, imagine turning those guys down.
No, yeah. She apparently got done cleaning her house and tried to change her mind and catch up with them to bring gifts for baby Jesus, but unfortunately she never found them. So now she just flies around on a broomstick searching for baby Jesus and leaving gifts for other children instead. She has a little
She,
bit of remorse for not going to see baby Jesus.
but basically, she's looking for Jesus.
Yeah. But
But
instead, she's like, oh, well, there's a bunch of other babies. They could be Jesus too. Why did she
yes,
turn into a country grandma? I don't know. But
she's like investigating these babies, and these babies are just like, like, what are you doing? How do you know? How would you know? Do you
like,
think like
darling, are you Jesus? Goo
do you
goo
think he would be
gaga.
able to know?
Yeah, wouldn't he just be looking magical?
I don't know.
If she's a witch, she could probably sense that shit.
Yeah, you're right. She could probably tell.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I agree.
But yeah, so apparently she was actually depicted as like a grandmotherly witch with a patched dress and a scarf over her head.
Hmm.
So she's not scary, but she's like a grandma who spoils you, but also doesn't tolerate nonsense. Because for the bad kids, she would leave coal or onions in your stocking. So they did carry that over the coal. But she had onions.
Yummy.
But she's fun. A little holiday witch. Italy's doing something.
And she managed to make it out of the Salem witch trials.
Yeah. Props to
Very
her.
impressive. But that brings us Russia's Santa, Ded Moroz. That sounds Russian. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
They got their own unique version of Santa Claus, as I said earlier. His name was Grandfather Frost. And this guy was not flying around with reindeer. Instead, this dude was decked out. You're not ready for this. Long, fur lined coat, magical staff, traveling on a troika, which, like I said, is a sleigh pulled by 3 horses. But he didn't work alone. He was joined by his granddaughter, the Snow Maiden, and I'm gonna butcher it again and say it probably 5 times. Snegurochka. Oh no, I'm gonna stay with that. That sounds right. Together, they delivered gifts and spread holiday cheer. So think of her as an ultimate holiday sidekick, alright? Kinda like if Santa had an Elsa vibe on his team, alright? So she was like Elsa, if you've watched Frozen. And what makes Ded Moroz, I'm slowly turning into Dracula, extra special was instead of Christmas, he shows up on New Year's Eve. He says, New Year, New Me, which is a big holiday in Russia, by the way. Families gather to celebrate, and Ded Moroz brings gifts to the kids while the adults enjoy feasts and fireworks. And while he may not live in the North Pole, he did have a little snowy charm and New Year's celebrations that made him just as magical, if not a little bit more. So, what do you think about the logistics of having a sleigh pulled by like a row of 3 rather than, this is just a me thought, but like I feel like one by one, like 2 horses or anything side by side makes sense. But when you put like a third element in there, that's why they make another row usually, or another column usually. Like
Oh,
why
yeah.
because then sometimes it might go like left or right, or it'll be like too wide. I don't know. Just think
Yeah.
about the logistics of that. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, okay. I'm there.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I agree. Like, if 3 horses were pulling instead of just 2.
That's why I feel like we usually we see depicted either 1, 2, or 4. I've never seen just 3. Like 1 makes sense, it has all the control. 2 makes sense, it's balanced. 3, that's a party. We don't do that. All right.
Yeah.
3 horses don't make sense.
A little too many. A little too many for you. That's goofy. Did you know, actually, Ded Moroz has roots in pagan winter spirits? So originally he was a frost demon who would freeze crops and bring harsh winters. But over time, he got a much jollier makeover and, of course, became a beloved figure who delivered gifts during the New Year's celebration.
So they gave him a cosmetic refresh.
Yeah. Yeah.
We paid $20 for a new skin for Deed Miraz.
It was like, actually, he needs a little bit of a glow up here.
They said, looks too old, do him again. We don't like that art style.
It's a little too scary.
No, I think, dude, everything in Russia is usually more like cool or terrifying. Like, have you seen just like the way they train Russian soldiers? I don't know if it
I
was a
don't
real
think so.
video, but like I saw they like put babies in ice baths and stuff to like condition them from birth. I don't know if that's real or true.
Oh,
So take it with a grain of salt. But like Russians are like built different, and I gotta respect it.
fair enough, honestly.
We're going to take a step back and look at the bigger picture of the holiday figures. So, whether it's Santa Claus, Deed Moroz, Krampus, or Belsnickel, all of the holiday figures share some universal themes. Would you like to try and guess one of them?
Generosity.
That was a good guess, and you are
Oh,
correct.
really? Yay!
Yes. Yeah, it's literally generosity. All of these people, as you have heard, are just usually generous. Or they have a counterpart that's not so generous. But that's because you weren't so generous, probably. But then also community and hope. And they remind us of the importance of giving and looking out for one another, which I feel like is slowly whittling away. And finding joy, even in like the darkest of times. So I find this really interesting. These figures adapt to reflect the values and traditions of each culture. So, like in Russia, Deed Moroz celebrates New Year's, which is a time of renewal and togetherness. But in Germany, Belsnickel emphasizes personal accountability, reminding kids to behave. And, in Europe and America, Santa has become a symbol of pure holiday cheer and magic wonder. So each version really fits with its people, but the message stays the same, which is, it makes it relatable. So, like,
Yeah.
basically, no matter where you are in the world or what holiday figure you want to celebrate, they all connect back to the same core ideas of inspiring kindness and bringing people together.
Hmm.
Yeah. Which do you think specifically of the ones that we've named kind of encompasses the spirit of the just the winter season?
The spirit of the winter season. I mean, I'm still on, Saint Nick, Santa Claus, Father Christmas,
Mhm.
the OG. Because, I mean, he is like the best of both worlds.
That's true. I like the Yule Lads a lot, and I
I do
think if
too.
we made that, like if we widespread the Yule Lads, I think the world would just be a better place.
I think that would be fucking hilarious.
Like imagine Spoon Liquor, are these their names or are these their like personalities?
So it's not so much their like actual names,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's part of their names in a sense, I'm pretty sure. Because there's a
Gotcha.
lot of them. We didn't even get into all of them. Oh, actually, I do think Spoon Liquor is his name.
No way. He came out of the womb and they said Spoon Liquor.
Yeah. There's
That's terrible.
Stubby, there's Gullygawk, Sheepcoat Claude.
Oh man.
They're funny.
No, that's crazy. Yeah, well, I would either go with that or Belsnickel because it really encompasses like just winter and cold, and I like
Yeah,
that.
true
But
facts.
but yeah.
And the darker side also, I mean, even the ones that are a little more sinister feeling, they also bring the balance. So it's not just the cute little jolly guys, because even like Krampus and Belsnickel, they add that. So granted, it's not all fun and games for them, but it's more so about the lessons of responsibility and making good choices. So I guess they're a little bit harsher, but the thought is still there.
Hmm.
But there's a few ways that they've actually made their way into pop culture as well to become a little bit more widespread. So Krampus, for example, obviously there's a horror movie about Krampus.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah.
It's
It's a
actually,
good movie.
I talked about this in a pre-show, and I won't go super deep into it, but the ending of Krampus is the type of stuff that really freaks me out. That's all I'll say.
Fair enough. But they still have like the holiday cards and stuff for Krampus too.
Like
And
the
of course,
movie? Or like just
just Krampus in
OG?
general, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't think you can find them at like Walmart or CVS or anything like that, but um you could definitely find them online, I'm sure. And then of course the parades. But Belsnickel actually, I don't know if anybody has watched The Office. And I have watched The Office, but I didn't even remember this. Dwight apparently dressed up as Belsnickel, asking everyone if they were impish or admirable.
Whoa, I
Yeah,
didn't know that. It's
I
been a
didn't either.
while.
Yeah, it's been a while, to be fair.
I haven't
But
watched it all though.
I don't think I finished it either.
It's good though. I don't know why I stopped, but it is good.
Yeah, it's decent, I'll say.
But before you end on that, because this Belsnickel guy, like I was saying, literally came to the United States because of how popular it was in Germany.
Yeah.
And, you know, his granddaughter kind of basically being Elsa is, you know, maybe that's why it came and kind of popped off. Did you hear about Belsnickel before we did this episode though?
I did not know.
I I want to say I heard the name, but I don't think I ever made the connection on what or who that was. Maybe. It seems potentially familiar. Maybe.
Maybe.
That
Maybe you
was a
heard it from The
tangent.
Office.
True. True. Imagine they're like, "Who are you supposed to be, Belsnickel?" And I'd be like, "What? How do you? What are you guys talking about? Like it's a like it's a known thing."
Yo.
They just all greet him. Oh, hey, Belsnickel.
Hey, what's up? That's funny.
But yeah, so
I was just gonna briefly talk about how even Santa has actually got some darker reinterpretations in modern media. So movies like The Nightmare Before Christmas or Bad Santa, so they kind of take a cheerful holiday figure and flip him on his head. So it just goes to show that all of these icons that we've talked about are very versatile. Whether they're teaching lessons, inspiring fear, making us laugh, giving us gifts, they've all become a way to reflect different sides of the holiday season. So, whether you're Team Krampus, Team Belsnickel, or you're just here for Santa, I mean, this episode alone has proved that there's a holiday figure out there for literally whoever you are.
I mean, I'm sure you could throw a dart on like a map and then find a Santa or Santa-like figure for that country slash culture.
For sure, yeah.
There's a lot of them. So wrapping up, last little fun fact: Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer did not start as the little claymation movie. Did not start off as a song, but started as a department store promotion
Oh,
and rose to being one of the most beloved holiday figures.
that's interesting.
Yeah, you would have thought maybe they wouldn't have used a random reindeer with a red nose as marketing material, but they did. So
Yeah, I always thought he was from the movie.
Oh, Rudolph from Fortnite.
Yo.
But that I think that does it. I
Yeah,
think that does it.
I learned a lot.
I actually learned stuff and it was fun.
Yeah.
I think we made it fun. So
Yeah. All right. From Santa Claus to Krampus and beyond, holiday figures reflect the magic, mystery, and even mischief of the season. They've evolved over centuries, but still hold a special place in our hearts.
And whether they're delivering gifts, teaching lessons, or scaring kids into good behavior, these legends remind us of the spirit of the holidays in all of its forms.
And now it's your turn. What's your favorite holiday figure or tradition? Let us know on any of our socials. You can comment down below, and all of our socials are in the description on whatever platform you are listening on. Let us know.
And we just want to say thank you for joining us for this very festive episode of Midnight Oil. And subscribe to the YouTube channel for Christmas sake. And if you aren't already, one of you little goblins, I got a bone to pick, unfollowed us on Spotify. And I don't know who it was, but I saw one of you. So Krampus is after you this year. So you know what? You better get straight before he comes and gets you, because he's not happy. I told him about you, and I'm not happy about it, and neither is he.
We called him. We have a personal line.
Yeah, I got the Krampus phone next to me. No, but really, we appreciate all of you guys. You're kind of making this kind of little project that we didn't think was going to go anywhere much bigger than we thought that it was going to get, and we're just getting started. So make sure you subscribe, go check out the Patreon, follow us on socials like Tab said, and happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays.
And now it's time to shout out our Patreon members by answering a question. I will go first this time. How did you guys, this is from Dakota, how did you guys end up making / creating this podcast, and what keeps pushing you guys to continue doing it? I think for me, I help a lot of people with their creative projects, and I wanted to get one of my own out there and just start being consistent with something. And I thought this was a great way to kind of explore that and be myself, I guess. Because at the end of the day, I act pretty much exactly how I do in real life on the podcast. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
this is just how I am. I'm just giggly, bubbly. I yap all the time. But I just wanted a creative project, and ultimately I guess I don't know, I had a feeling that it would be fun.
Okay, yeah.
What about you?
So I'm gonna take it back like 2-3 years ago when we talked about making a podcast, and it just
Oh
wasn't
my
time yet.
god.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And so that's how that kind of came. There was an idea that was planted years ago, and then some reason, some way, somehow, someday, it came up again. And we were just like, okay, you know what? I mean, the worst it can be is bad, and then we just get better. So why don't we just start it now? And it can only go up from here. And so we started it, and that's what started it. And then what keeps me personally pushing, I just like the idea that we settled on. Like, I really enjoy learning things and yapping. Sometimes on our recording days, I'm ready to just take a nap. But today I took a nap and I was ready to go. So I don't know, I love talking. Really.
Yeah. I think you also said a good part about it just feels good to talk. Like, it's a different kind of talking that we would do if we were just like playing a game
Mm-hmm.
or, chit-chatting. Like, this is like intelligent, not brain off time. And I try and turn my brain off as much as possible just because I have ADHD and a little bit of the little bit of tism. So it's hard for me to relax. But with this, I really feel stimulated and I enjoy it. And it's a fun creative project. Like, so much fun.
Agreed. And then
But
my question
yeah, let's do it.
was from Zaid/Agrode. What's the inspiration behind the name Midnight Oil? And I think that's going to be roughly the same answer for both of us. We had a really hard time coming up with a name.
And a
It was
logo.
like we brainstormed for days about it. We had the premise of our podcast laid out and we were ready to go, but we couldn't get married to a name.
Yeah. So, okay. So we recorded a before everything episode, and it will not be aired for likely a long time, and it was basically us talking about the super duper alpha version of the podcast, because originally, and I won't get super into it, you can listen to it, but originally it was just going to be us live recording, researching things, and then having ADHD tangents. That was the premise of the podcast. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we had. And, it is that, but in a much more refined manner.
A
And
structured way now.
yeah, much more structured, easier for like you guys to follow and people that may not have ADHD, because I can, like, Tab and we can talk and talk and talk, and then I'll bring up something from like an hour ago and Tab will just be able to pick right up on that and be like, "Oh yeah." But like some people can't do that. So there's a lot of small things that we've done to kind of refine the process and make it simplified. And I'm yapping about it, but it really is like a truly a passion. And I think the way that the direction we're going now is much better than where it once started, and significantly better than our idea at the beginning. So
I
that
agree.
leads me into the name, like Midnight Oil. I'll lore dump, I guess. So Tab and I frequently, it's getting a little better now, but we are not good at sleeping. So there's midnight. That just that was easy, right? But in a lot of our names, and I don't know if we talk about all of the different names that we had in the first like beta episode that we made, but I knew like the word midnight I wanted to be in there because that just, I feel like, already encapsulated both of us and the vibe of the podcast. Like that word just carried enough weight for me to be like, I think this is a great idea. And then we both inevitably agreed on that. But then oil, like, you might be like, oil, that doesn't make any sense. But when you think about the term burning the midnight oil, it's like, and we might have different reasonings for it, but for me, it was burning the midnight oil means I'm unable to sleep and I want to do something, or I have an idea and I want to put it out there, or I want to work on it. And that's what this project is, which is why sometimes we'll record at 5 p.m., midnight, 3 a.m. Like, it all just kind of stems back to us being comfortable and really just enjoying the time that we do it, because we have found making a podcast is not super quick.
No.
There's a lot of stuff that goes into making a podcast, and if you want it to grab any traction whatsoever in this day and age, you have to make TikToks, shorts, other avenues for people to discover your content. Then on top of that, sometimes making one episode isn't enough a week. You want to get your stuff out there, so maybe you make 2 a week. And then that's more editing, and we do the pre-show, and we want to do extra stuff. So just slowly over time, it becomes more and more work. And I think Midnight Oil really encapsulates not only how Tab and I go about projects, but just my philosophy personally, where I truly thrive doing things later at night, or at least when the world seems to be sleeping. I guess I know, very emo goth of me, I guess, but I guess that's a much deeper reasoning than I had to give, but that's, and maybe that answer will change over time, but like right now, that's how it makes me feel and my interpretation of why I chose it.
Yeah, and I agree. Mine's more simpler in the terms of it just represents like the late night grind. Like when I think of midnight oil, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm dressed in my little my nightgown with my sleeper hat, carrying around an oil light, reading a book in my study like Scrooge.
Yeah, you're reading "Twas the Night Before Christmas."
Yeah.
No, yeah, I don't know. I think I think too deeply on things. Or maybe that's good. I don't know. I'm allowed to do what I want, and that's okay. So, that's why we chose the name. I could talk about why we did so many different things for the podcast, but if you made it this far, Thank you very much. Shout out to Zaid, Dakota, Cameron, and yeah, you guys are ground zero for the podcast, so
Yeah.
appreciate it.
And that about wraps up our holiday figures.
That's right. That's Tab's way of saying I've been talking too long. No, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh
But no,
man.
have a happy holiday, and we're gonna see you guys on Wednesday.
Yes. Good night.
Nighties.